Check, 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 check. Hello, hello. Hi, beautiful humans. Happy Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025. I'm so happy to have you here today. I just wanted to do a little celebration for reaching 10,000 subscribers on my channel, and I wanted to say thank you to you. In addition, it is my Independence Day. I want to tell my Independence Day story. And I also want to tell you all about the new community that I created just for you, beautiful humans. I cannot wait to start sharing with you at the new platform that I have over at Kajabi. And I put the link right here. It's pinned as the first comment. And it also it's here as a banner. I'm going to leave it up for just a minute and then I'll take it down. I want to share with you the community page because it's just awesome. I'm excited about it. So when you go to the new community and you join, this is what you're going to see. I'm actually going to change my layout here so you can see it better. Yeah, okay, so this is the new community right here. And as you can see, when you go to this community page, there are a couple of different circles. I'm going to create some more circles, but there's one that says weekly live. I'm going to be doing a members only live every single week in this community. And just because I want to do more lives that are a little bit more intimate for just community members, I don't want those cluttering up my YouTube page. And there's also some stuff that I can share with a community that's behind a paywall that I would prefer not be out there in the public internet. Some of those things are, people have asked me to perform songs, play the piano. Some people have asked about cooking recipes, things like that. And then also just every once in a while, we'll have a discussion about what is going on in the world, different true crime cases or different instances of narcissistic abuse that I would like to share solutions to in that private community. So, and then there's also a little tab for Q&A where I welcome your questions and your comments and everything. Not only that, but this community's content is going to be driven completely 100% by you. And so that means that I'm going to be taking your suggestions of what videos you want to see, what live streams you want to have, and answering your questions about all things true crime, high demand religion, and bullying and narcissism. I am so excited to start sharing with you. I have so many ideas for content that I want to put in that community that I don't want to have here in the public YouTube page. So thank you so much, you guys, for being here today. Margie, good to see you. Meme of 8, Danny, Awakening Expansion, Jonathan, great to see you. And yes, I will sing some opera, absolutely. MB, great to see you as well. Good morning to everybody who's out there and to everybody who is watching on the replay. It's good to have you here. So first, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you who have subscribed to the channel, and especially to all of you who have been consistent commenters in the chat and also just on videos. That engagement is super important. And I recently made a post where somebody made a negative comment on my channel saying that I was, taking advantage of people because of my family's case. And I responded to that person, then I posted it on my channel. So just so that you guys could see, because I genuinely was curious if there were any people on my channel who felt taken advantage of. And I was overwhelmed at the number of you who were so kind and willing to comment. It really made me feel great about the content that I'm putting out here, because so many of you have said that this has been valuable for you. It's been helpful for you. It has helped you change relationships in your life. And that really makes me feel wonderful about this work that I'm doing. So I really wanted to thank all of you who commented on that post and who took the time to say something kind about me and my channel and the things that I'm doing here. It really meant a lot to me. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for that. And then I just wanted to, talk a little bit about my community, and I've done that. So if you missed that, I have a brand new community. It is on the Kajabi platform, so it has its own URL. I apologize that it's not just something easy to remember, but I am going to pin it to my bio on my YouTube page. So that way, if anybody comes to this later and you don't see the URL anywhere, it's in the description of the video, as well as I'm going to pin it on my bio on my YouTube page, as well as my Instagram and my TikTok pages also. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, you guys. I'm also planning on doing a little bit more content on my TikTok and my Instagram. I've been a little slow on that lately, but my Instagram is now almost to 1,000 followers. I'd like to get that up to 1,000. My TikTok is up to 1,000. So all of that just gives me more of an opportunity to spread the word about this work that I'm doing and get it in front of more people that I hope it's going to help. So thank you so much for 10,000. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do to support the channel. It would not exist without you. And I'm just really grateful for all of the feedback and support that I get from you, because I'm here for you. This channel is for you. It's for your learning, and it's for you to transform the relationships in your life. So Rio for Life, Kim D, good to see you. Hi, Anna. Hi, Lamisa. Always great to see you. Piano Mom, great to see you from Vermont. Snowy Vermont. Oh, I'm a little jealous. It's chilly today here in San Antonio, but it's not, of course, snowy at all. It is about 40 degrees-ish or so. So 10,000 subscribers in 10 months feels great to me. I'm so happy. I never thought that it was going to grow this fast. Trust but document. Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. So I'm really grateful for that. And also February 14th is uniquely my Independence Day, which is why I'm a little blingy today, I'm a little sparkly today. Dressed up, excited to celebrate this day. I actually celebrated Valentine's Day with my partner Samuel yesterday, because I hate being out in the crowd and, standing in lines and waiting for things. I would much rather celebrate a little bit more low key. So we had a great celebration yesterday. It was great. And tonight I'm going to be cooking some beautiful fillets that I found at Costco. And I'm going to do a little live show over on my community channel for those of you who are interested in how I cook my fillets. I do not ever really like to go out to steak restaurants because I can do a better job at home. And I always prefer that. And so anyway, it's not my favorite day. I've never really appreciated Valentine's Day. When I was married, it was a difficult time for me always, because, I wanted to have the kind of relationship where, my spouse recognized special days, anniversaries, and things like that. And it would happen sometimes if I did a lot of the work on the front end, a lot of reminding. And I never really appreciated the fact that birthdays, anniversaries, Mother's Day, things like that had to really just, pull teeth to get that to happen. And so I made a decision after I got divorced that I was just going to start providing all of those things for myself. So all the times that I wished that somebody would surprise me with flowers, well, I just bought my own. And every time that I wished that I would get a gift for my birthday that was like the perfect thing, now I can just go out and buy myself a birthday gift. And I love that. So Valentine's, for the last, actually 7 or 8 years or so, has been my Independence Day, because I actually ended my 22-year marriage in the marriage therapist's office on Valentine's Day. That's a story that I've told before. It's a little bit personal, so I don't know if I want to share it here. I definitely will share it over on the community. But I will tell you another Independence Day story. February 14th it's been a pattern, and maybe it's the moon, maybe it is the time of year, maybe it's the cycle of life that I'm in. But 2 years ago on Valentine's Day, I finally submitted my official resignation to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ending my lifelong membership, ending 7 generations of Mormonhood in my world. And I will tell you the story of how that happened, because this is, to me, it's not Valentine's Day. To me, this is Independence Day. So those of you who have been following me for a long time know that this journey started out when I published my book, I Walked Through Fire to Get Here. I should have had a copy of it here, but I don't. And I'll talk more about my book a little bit later. Thank you so much for the anniversary wishes. Anna Kane says, today's the anniversary of my first adoption, 9-year-old special needs child 30 years ago. Congratulations to you. I've found that a lot of people have different anniversaries on this day, so I'm here for it. And thank you guys for being here to celebrate with me a little bit. So Lisa Bite Me says, I got the best Valentine present I could ask for. What was it? Do you want to share with us? I would love to hear. So anyway, I started this journey of writing my book about healing from trauma, healing from all of the different kinds of trauma that I'd been through in my life. And there was a chapter in it on Mormonism because at the time that I wrote the book, which was several years ago, I was disaffected with the LDS Church, but I had not ever examined the truth claims to find out, whether it was really true or not. I was still a believing member, but what I believed was, okay, the church is true, but I don't fit, and I don't think that I ever will. I remember having a conversation with one of my daughters where she was struggling with her faith as well, and we had not gone back to church after the pandemic. Oh, Lisa Bite Me, I'm so happy to hear this. She says hubby came safely through surgery. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. And I wish him a speedy, speedy recovery. So I remember sitting with my daughter who was struggling, and we hadn't been back to the church after the pandemic. And, I had started doing some non-Mormon things and, expanding sort of things in my life, hobbies and other interests, pursuing things that I wanted to. And I know she recognized that. And she had some questions and she wanted to have that conversation with me. So we sat down and I just told her, the more that I learn about healthy relationships and the more that I learn about abuse and abusive cycles, the church culture just feels very oppressive to me. And it's not a place where I feel loved or appreciated or respected. And I made myself a promise that I was never again going to be in a relationship where I did not feel treated with kindness and respect. And I told her, it's really, really hard for me because something that was so special and important to me growing up and was such a place of safety for me during a lot of volatile times, like when I was going through my recovery period from complex PTSD, I had that faith as a lifeline. And even though the culture wasn't great and I wasn't treated that well, I still at least had my faith that I was clinging to, and it was helping me to get through those difficult times. But I told her the analogy of the brownie. Back when I was a teenager, we got this silly lesson in Sunday school, and I think a lot of Mormons had a very similar lesson where the teacher brings a plate of brownies and she says, "Who would like a brownie?" Of course, everybody wants one. And she says, "Okay, but I have to tell you something. They taste really, really good, but they have a tiny bit of poop in them. Does anybody still want a brownie?" And of course, nobody wants a brownie. And the analogy that she was using was, this is like watching rated R movies, which is a big no-no in the Mormon church. They didn't want us watching rated R movies because there's cursing and there are sex scenes and there's violence. Of course, they don't really care that much about the violence. But anyway, the analogy was the movie is mostly good, but it has a little bit of bad stuff in it. So are you going to consume it? Are you going to let that into your life? And so I told my daughter this, it made me think about the church. It was like, all of the ingredients that go into Mormonism seem so good, but there is poop in it. There are things that are bad and harmful and toxic. So am I going to continue to eat it? No. And am I going to continue to serve it to my children? No. Because if I was choosing a religious organization right now, starting from scratch, this is not what I would choose. It's not a healthy place. I don't like it. I don't want my children to continue to be harmed by it. And so I made the decision not to go back. And that conversation happened, I think, in December of 22. And at the time, my book was ready to be published. And I had written the Mormon chapter several years prior. And I asked my partner, Samuel, to read it. And I appreciate if you've heard this story before, I'm sorry if it's repetitive. But I asked Samuel to read the Mormon chapter, and I said, I want to make sure that I've said everything that I need to say about my experience in the church. And reading the chapter actually made Samuel very angry. And he said, "You can't publish your book like this with this chapter. It was apologetic. I was clearly being apologetic. I was telling people what Mormons believed, and I was talking about the I didn't say anything about the truth claims. I was just saying that there are some parts of Mormonism that I think are beautiful ideas. For example, the idea that families can be together forever in heaven. But that gets really problematic when you start to realize that there are a lot of families that don't fit the Mormon mold. Mine, for example, my husband was not an active member, and we never were married in the temple. And so I wasn't sealed to my children. So, according to the exact laws of Mormonism, I would not get to be sealed to my children in heaven because I didn't have a faithful man by my side. So the chapter that I was writing was about sort of the fact that I didn't belong in this system, but that, I guess it works for some people. It just didn't work for me because I felt invalidated. And he's like, you can't do this. This is leaving out too much of the story. And he said, I think you really need to dig into, I part of the first thing that really caused me a lot of consternation was the November 2015 exclusion policy, where the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints issued a policy that stated that a child of a gay couple could not get baptized in the church at the age of 8 unless they completely denounced their parents' relationship and basically said, I know that what my parents are doing is wrong, because they're married in a gay relationship. And that, it made me angry. I was confused. I had so much grief over that because there were so many people that I loved in the LGBTQ community. I had not yet admitted to myself that I was bisexual because that was very not Mormon. I was just trying to repress that part of me and pretend it didn't exist. So that was a really hard thing. And Samuel said, I think you really need to dig into that experience and those feelings and why that was so hard for you. And so I got to the point where I said, okay, I think that the church got it wrong when they excluded Black people from holding the priesthood and going to the temple. I think that they got it wrong. They eventually got it right, not until 1978, though. So over 100 years after the church was formed. And I think they're getting it wrong about the LGBTQ community now. I just hope that it doesn't take 150 years for them to get it right again. And so I started thinking to myself, I remember that Joseph Smith ordained a couple of Black men to the priesthood. One of them was named Elijah Abel. He held the priesthood for his entire life, basically. He was never allowed to go to the temple, though. But I remembered that Joseph Smith had ordained him and at least one other person. And so I was thinking to myself, was it that Brigham Young just stopped that practice because he was racist? Or when did that stop happening? When did we stop ordaining Black men to the priesthood and why? And so I started researching that. And in doing the research for that, I came across a scholarly article. Now, when I do research, I dig. I don't just Google, I dig. I have subscriptions to several educational databases so that I can read doctoral theses and actual studies. I love to look at source documents. I will go to vital history or vital records databases and look at actual marriage certificates, actual death certificates, actual birth certificates. I want to see the actual concrete data. I don't want to just go off of somebody else's story. So I was looking at scholarly articles that had been written about Brigham Young's time as prophet of the church and the different policies that he enacted and things. I came across a scholarly article, which was a master's thesis written by a history student at, I believe, the University of Arizona, named Shannon Caldwell Montez. And it was called The Secret Mormon Meetings of 1922. And this scholarly paper was about the church historian B.H. Roberts. So B.H. Roberts was a faithful LDS member who was a church historian. And he was studying the origins of the Book of Mormon. And he wrote a 130-page essay on all of the problems with the historicity of the Book of Mormon and with the truth claims of the Book of Mormon. And when I talk about historicity, what I mean is that the Book of Mormon claims to have been written around 600 BC. And that is the time when this family left Jerusalem and came to the American continent and settled. And, basically it's the story of their faith in that journey. And the problem with being set in 600 BC is that in the Book of Mormon, there are well, first of all, they had to build an entire ship to cross the ocean over in Jerusalem. So they left Jerusalem, they got to the ocean, and the Lord commanded this prophet named Nephi to build a boat. So he had to build a boat that was big enough to take his family across the ocean to the Americas. And at the time, they didn't have things like nails, for example. So he would have had to, there's a story in the Book of Mormon where Nephi, the prophet, doesn't know where to go to find the ore to melt into metal to make nails for the boat. And so the Lord guides him to a place. Well, nails didn't exist in 600 BC. Then when they get over here to the American continent, they talk about things like horses and silk and steel. And those things did not exist in 600 BC either. So when I say historicity, those are the things I'm talking about. So B.H. Roberts wrote this paper. It was 130 pages long. And he, being the head church historian, went to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and the presidents of the church and presented this paper to them, calling out all of these problems with the Book of Mormon. And basically what he was saying is that if I discovered these problems as the church historian, other people eventually are going to discover these problems too. And what are we going to do about it? How are we going to explain this to people? And essentially, the entire Quorum of the 12 Apostles and the presidents of the church, rather than addressing the actual claims, they did not address the claims. All they did was stand up and bear their testimony, or basically give their declaration that they believed that the Book of Mormon was scripture, that they believed the story that Joseph Smith told about the gold plates, finding the gold plates, and that they believed in the accuracy of the Book of Mormon. They didn't even really give any credence to what he was bringing up as so many problems with the Book of Mormon. And this really disillusioned him. And so he, rather than just giving up, he sort of condensed down his paper into a little bit more concise document. And he gathered together a lot of the intellectuals that were in the Salt Lake area at the time. And they had another meeting where he presented all of these problems with the historicity of the Book of Mormon and with the idea that it was a historical document. And the intellectuals were like, yeah, this is kind of problematic. Don't really know what to do about it. And that was it. And then subsequently, the brethren, which is how we refer to the Quorum of the 12 and the presidency of the church, those top 15 dudes who govern the church, their next move was to send B.H. Roberts off on a 2-year mission. So they essentially hushed him up, silenced him, and then buried that report. And the only reason that we still know about it today is because one of the people in that second meeting kept a copy of it, and also B.H. Roberts' family kept a copy of it. I believe his family is no longer in the church, his descendants, and they were willing to share that copy with Shannon Caldwell Montez or with, the scholarly institution where they were researching it. And so when they sent him on that mission, it was basically be quiet and don't talk about this stuff anymore. And B.H. Roberts, I think, struggled with his faith. He, I think, remained faithful and remained in the church, but he struggled because of that experience where he presented all of these problems and his concerns basically went unaddressed. It was sort of like a modern day CES letter where a student wrote a letter to the director of the church educational system, listing all of these problems and questions that they had about historical references and about problematic people in church history. And he got no answer from the director of the CES, the director of the educational system. So it was sort of a 1922 version of the CES letter. Only back then the internet didn't exist, and now that it does, the CES letter has been everywhere. I read it at one point when I was doing some of this research, and honestly, it didn't really shake me as much as this meeting did, because the conclusion that I came to after reading that paper, and also the journal entries of all of the people who attended. Not all of them made an entry specifically about the meeting, but some of them did. Many of them did, and they were included in this master's thesis as well. So you can read the actual journals of the people who were there for this meeting and their reactions to it, and some of the things that happened to them afterwards. So maybe I need to do an episode on this paper. They've covered it very thoroughly on Mormon Stories, so I don't know if that's something that I need to do, but if you people would like me to do that, I'm happy to make a video about it, because it was really instrumental in my deconstruction. Because after reading that and reading the journal entries of the people who were at that second meeting in Salt Lake, it really shook the faith of a lot of these people. And the fact that it just went unaddressed by the 15 people who were leading the church, to me, that meant that they knew that B.H. Roberts was probably correct in some of his findings, that the Book of Mormon could not be a historical text, and that it could not have come forward the way that Joseph Smith said. That probably there were no gold plates, because one of the things that he brings up in his paper is the fact that if there were a set of plates that were made from gold that had all of these writings engraved on them, enough to make an entire, 160-page Book of Mormon, 180 something pages, that set of gold plates would be too heavy for even two people to carry together, much less for one person to carry. And there is one story about the gold plates where Joseph Smith goes to get the plates, and a bunch of community members find out that he's going to get the plates. And of course, they want them because they'd be incredibly valuable, right? So the story is people were trying to steal the golden plates from Joseph Smith. And so he hid them in a log. And then when he thought the coast was clear, he took them out of the log and he ran as fast as he could from where he hid them to the house that he was staying at, which I don't remember the exact distance, but you can't run with a set of golden plates that contain that much writing. It would be gold plates that were approximately this thick. If you had thin plates made of gold that were that thick, they would be too heavy for one person to carry. So that was one of the things he brought up in his paper. So there's no way that it could have happened the way Joseph Smith said it could have happened. And the fact that these men, who were smart men, that they just ignored all of his findings. They didn't answer a single one of them. To me, that means that they know that the Book of Mormon cannot be historically accurate and that it cannot have come to fruition the way that Joseph Smith said it did. And knowing that and not addressing it with the members and not ever talking about it, I believe is one of the greatest deceptions that has ever occurred. And I felt lied to. And after I read that paper and did some more reading and research, I found that Mormon Stories had done an episode on the secret Mormon meetings of 1922. And at the time, I didn't really know what Mormon Stories was. I had never heard of John Dehlin. Actually, that's not true. I heard of John Dehlin when Natasha Helfer, who is a Mormon sex therapist, she was excommunicated because she started teaching that masturbation is a developmentally healthy and normative practice among young adolescents and, again, among human beings in general. And that is what is consistent with current psychological science. And the church leaders told her she had to stop teaching that because it was against church doctrine. And so she was in this position where she felt like she either had to put her membership in danger, or she had to put her license in danger by ignoring the science and by teaching or not teaching about the science. And so they excommunicated her. And John DeLynn hosted a vigil where they were waiting outside the stake center while Natasha was supposed to be in there meeting with her priesthood leaders. That's a whole story, you guys. That is another one of those things that really shook my faith that happened around 2020. And yeah, that whole thing was a big part of my shelf breaking. I think my shelf was probably sagging under a lot of weight at that point already. But that was another one of those things where it's like the church does not allow us to teach and believe healthy psychological traits. And that was when I started exploring narcissism in the church and narcissistic abuse in the church. And so all of this sort of started coming together right around the same time. And so this again, rewriting this Mormon chapter of my book started happening in December of 2022. And so I read that paper, the B.H. Roberts paper. I found Mormon stories, and I found a couple of episodes on there that really resonated with me. And through Mormon stories, I found Sandra Tanner. And so I started doing more digging on who is Sandra Tanner. And I found a video of a lecture that she gave to some other Christian pastors. And she was talking about the problems with Mormonism. And I guess the pastors were able to sort of answer some questions about, I have some ex-members coming to my congregation. How can I best serve them? And Sandra Tanner was giving this lecture. And she recounted a story where she was having lunch with a church historian. And she asked the church historian, how do you get around the fact that Joseph Smith was a predator? And it hit me really hard because I had never thought of Joseph Smith as a predator. But then Sandra Tanner went on to describe the story of Lucy Walker. And the story of Lucy Walker was pretty much what closed it for me, closed my Mormon chapter. Now I do a whole video on that on my channel, but just briefly I'll say Lucy Walker was a 14-year-old girl. She had lost her mother. Joseph Smith told the father he was worried about his health, sent him away on a mission, and then had Lucy Walker and her teenage brother stay with him in his house. And Lucy was acting, I guess, as a maid in the house. And Joseph Smith was so magnanimous and gave Lucy and her brother a place to stay. And lo and behold, one day while Joseph Smith's wife, Emma, was out of town with the teenage brother on a shopping trip, Joseph cornered Lucy Walker and said, an angel appeared to me, or God came to me and told me that I am to take a second wife, or a plural wife, and you are to be the one. And Lucy sort of was, I don't know, upset about this. And Joseph said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 24 hours to think about it. And I think if you pray, you're going to get the same answer that I did. And if you do decide to marry me, then your entire family's salvation will be guaranteed for eternity. And if you don't, an angel with a flaming sword is going to destroy us both. So, under those circumstances, Joseph Smith took a young woman who had lost her mother, whose father was nowhere around. He isolated her, which is what predators do with their victims. And he basically forced a demand on her and told her that if she didn't do it, that she and he would both be destroyed. Threatened her eternal salvation, which this is predatory behavior. This is what predators do. They isolate their victims, they threaten their victims, and just basically to get whatever it is that they want, which most of the time is sex or some other kind of favor. And they basically make their victims dependent on them in some way. And so when Sandra Tanner framed it that way and referred to Joseph Smith as a predator, I could not unsee it. I could not, as a survivor of SA as a child and later as a young adult, I could not unsee it. That it was just so blatantly clear to me. And so during January of 2024, I I started my deconstruction, and I have a video up on my YouTube channel as well of the exact moment that I feel like I lost my faith, because after when I saw that video, I immediately got on Marco Polo and I sent a message to my sister and my cousin who I was, we had this group of just like support for each other. And I basically laid out all of these things that I'm telling you right now, but I was shaken. I was devastated. I felt lied to. I felt betrayed. I felt duped. I felt as though my entire life was a lie and my entire worldview was just shattered. And I was devastated. And so I spent the entire month of January binge watching the entire LDS discussion series on Mormon stories, which I highly, highly recommend. I've plugged it many times before, but it was instrumental in my deconstruction because it took every single faith claim, truth claim from the very beginning all the way down to the very end. I think there are over 40 episodes now. I highly recommend it to anyone who's trying to deconstruct or figure out what was lies and what was the truth. So I went all the way through that entire LDS discussion series, and then I started finding more Mormon Stories episodes that I was interested in. And so on Valentine's Day of 2023, right? Yeah, 2023, I was on my way to, I was getting ready to celebrate Valentine's Day, and I was on my way to the grocery store to go buy, whatever it was that I think, it was like I think it was a tomahawk ribeye that I was going to cook, and a lobster tail and some other fancy stuff. I just love cooking fancy stuff on holidays. So I was on my way to the grocery store and I was listening to the Mormon Stories episode of, someone was suing the LDS church to get their tithing back. And this is known as the Gaddy case. And it was going to be they were anticipating it was going to be a class action lawsuit. And I was at the time where I was like, I want my money back. I feel defrauded. I feel taken advantage of. And I want my tithing money back. And I also want to receive compensation for all of the hours that I worked for the church for free. I was really in that space. And man, I was fired up and pissed off. And so when I heard that episode, I was like, what? Somebody's suing the church and it's a class action suit? And what they mentioned was the catch is that if you want to get your tithing dollars back and you want to be a part of this class, you have to have resigned from the church. And I was like, what? And they talked about quitmormon.org, which is a very simple process you can go through because the church requires you to have a notarized statement signed and sent in to the attorneys at the church in order to have your name removed from the records. Because what they really want you to do is go talk to your bishop so your bishop can try to hoover you back in and try to convince you that your eternal salvation is at stake and this isn't something you want to do, blah, 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 whatever. Because they want your name on the records so they can count you as a member so that their stats look good, right? So I went right away. I went home. I logged into my LDS.org account. I downloaded my tithing records. And then I went to quitmormon.org. I downloaded the papers that I needed. And I went to my friend in the office I was working in, who is a notary. I had my form notarized and I mailed it in on February 14th of 2024. And so I call this my Independence Day because it's the day that I finally decided I wanted nothing to do with the church. I did not want to be affiliated with them in any way, and I did not want my name on their records. I did not want them to be able to count me as a member anymore. Because if you don't remove your name, the church leaves your name on the records until you're 110 years old or until they get notice that you have died, so that they can continue to count you as a faithful member, which is just an effort on their part to make it seem like they have more active members than they do, so that they can show to their existing members that, oh, the church is growing, it's doing wonderful, we have so many people on the books. So they claim that they have about 17 million members worldwide. But according to the Widows' Might report, which you can find at widowsmight.org, people both inside and outside of the church gathering data and doing surveys. The people who self-identify as Mormon, they estimate that the number is right around 6 million. And the people who are actually active members of the church, active meaning they go to church at least once a month, that number is somewhere around 4.5 million, which is a stunning difference from 17 million. So that is my Independence Day story. Thank you for listening to it. I'm going to go to the comments and just say thank you again for being here, for celebrating my 10,000 subscribers. It's a huge milestone for me. It feels like a great victory. It makes me feel great about the work that I'm doing. And I have a brand new community. If you're just joining and you missed it, I have a brand new community where I'm going to be posting a lot of members only content. One of which will be my other Independence Day story, which is the day that I ended my marriage on the couch of my marriage therapist with my former spouse sitting next to me. So I'll share that on the private community over there. But I'm excited about this new community. I want to be able to share a lot more with you guys. I just have things that I'd like to share a little bit more privately than out here in public. So anyway, I'm just going to rewind a little bit. Librarians, welcome. Roxy Shepherd, happy birthday. Welcome to you. Data Lisa, good to see you. Who else is here? No More BS. Thank you. Thanks for the congratulations. I have worked hard on this channel, and it's been a journey. I've learned so much. I made so many mistakes, but I'm in a great place now, and I'm really happy about it. So thanks. Ruben in Boston. But the Spirit gave him extra strength. Joseph Smith. Yeah, I've heard that one before. Latter Daily Digest. Hey, thanks for being here. I want to say Latter Daily Digest is one of my biggest supporters. He's had me on his podcast or his channel for interviews several times. We've also done a few collaborations. And on Tuesday nights, I go on a panel with Latter Daily Digest and a few of my other favorite ex-mos where we talk about ex-Mormonism. I just want to give a shout out to Latter Daily Digest. Go like and subscribe to his channel. I call Gene the Great Connector because he has connected me with so many other beautiful humans. And he is always here supporting and repping this channel. So I really, really appreciate everything that you've done. I know you've been a big contributor to me getting 10,000 subs. So I really appreciate it. I also want to give a shout out to Mormon Stories podcast because John Dehlin has been a great mentor to me. He's been so generous with his time. And when I told him on, I believe it was Tuesday night, that I was getting close to 10,000, or no, it was Wednesday night, was getting close to 10,000 subs. He actually made a post on his channel telling people to come and like my channel, and it's what put me over the edge. So I want to give a shout out to Mormon Stories. Also, Lauren Matthias of Hidden True Crime has had me on her channel many, many times, and I know many of you came to me from that community. I also want to say a huge thanks to Surviving the Survivor podcast, Joel and Ileana. The COE, they've had me on their show many times and have been great supporters of mine. I know lots of people came to my channel from there. And also Web Sleuths, they have a nightly live show at 9:30 Central Time where they talk about all of the true crime news of the day. And they've been huge supporters of my channel as well. They've had me on many, many times. In fact, sometimes I'll just go in the comments and make some comments and they're like, well, do you want to hop on and talk about it? So they're always having me on their channel. So I just want to say thank you to all of you who've ever been a guest, or all of you who just have ever supported my channel in any way. This is all about you. Thanks for the support of the channel. And I'm looking forward to so many wonderful things to come. I'm so excited about this new community that we have. Deanna, I might be extra glowy today. I don't know. I actually put on makeup today, so maybe that's it. Oh, it's the glow up from celebrating leaving the church, definitely. Nina says, I'm interested in you covering more about the CES letter and the 1920s meeting you mentioned today. As great as Mormon Stories is, I really appreciate the Megan Connor perspective on things. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I will put that down. In fact, I'm going to write it down right now because you know how I am. I will forget. So I'm going to do a 1922 episode and a CES letter. I have not really dug into the CES letter. Like I said, I did read it. It didn't have a huge impact on me because I think some of the things that were being brought up in the CES letter. I think when I read it, I had so many apologetic responses to it, and it wasn't the kind of thing that was going to really shake my faith. I think it took seeing narcissism and predation widespread in the church that really had to do it for me. No disrespect to Jeremy Runnels, who wrote the CES letter, or to anyone who read it and it did break their shelf, because we all have like different journeys out of the church and we all have different pressure points. It just, for where I was at the time, maybe I just read it in an apologetic mindset, or I read it with the mindset of like, well, no matter what this letter says, I'm still going to be a believer. Maybe that was my problem. So yeah, and then librarians, we were talking about Lucy Walker being isolated by Joseph Smith. No pressure, huh? Do this or else. And I resonate with this. Like, I would rather die than do that. But also I was thinking of myself as a 14-year-old and what I would have thought at that time. And as a 14-year-old, if some church leader had come to me and said, Megan, you can guarantee the salvation of every single person in your family if you will do this XYZ thing, which basically means giving up your entire life, I'd be like, yeah, I'll do it. I would. Because at the time, I would have done anything to have the love and acceptance and belonging of my family members. I would have done anything. You could have told me anything. I was just a vulnerable person at that time. And my family members were my pressure point. I wanted that family togetherness no matter what. So I probably would have done it. Me now, I would have had a much different response that would have probably involved me, I don't know, doing something rash. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to go into detail. Carol Botcher, thank you so much. It's so good to see you here. Thanks for the celebration. And Joe Tallchief, I agree. Sometimes it is not easy to see the truth. Sometimes it's not easy to accept the truth, because the truth is not always a happy thing. And when I wrote my book, one of my family members was asking me about whether or not they should read it. And I was like, probably not. You're probably not going to like it. And they said, what is so important about it? And I said, well, what's important about it is that I'm telling the truth about my life. And she said, well, is it uplifting? And I said, no, it's not. The truth is not always uplifting. It's not always a happy thing. So no. The truth sometimes hurts. It's sometimes really hard to accept. And I had a lot of those moments. I didn't want to accept that my family members were abusive, but that's the fact of the case. I didn't want to admit that my marriage was abusive, but that was the fact. And accepting it was my first step in being able to heal from it. And so accepting those hard truths and looking at those hard truths, yeah, I totally understand why people shy away from that discomfort. But for me personally, in my life, I would rather know the truth than to stay comfortable and believe a lie. So Jules Treasures says it's 60 episodes now on that Mormon discussion. Man, it's been a while. I guess they've added some in the last couple of years. Such a valuable series for me. And they just did one yesterday about whether Joseph Smith had sex with his plural wives or not. I can't wait to listen to that one. But I became a monthly donor of Mormon Stories just because of the LDS discussion episodes. I said I was going to donate $50 a month for an entire year because I believed that it was absolutely as valuable as any college course. And I wish that I had more to give, but I don't at the moment. Someday maybe I will, but I'm going to continue to donate because that community was the safe space that I needed to know that I wasn't crazy when I was deconstructing from my religion. So I really appreciate that. Hey, Michael, great to see you. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. For any of you who live in the St. George area, the Thrive Conference is happening there on the 28th of February through the first couple of days of March. And the Thrive Conference is Thrive After Religion is a nonprofit organization. I believe it's affiliated with the Open Stories Foundation, but they put on these conferences for people who are struggling with their faith. And there are going to be lots of speakers there, both people who are faithful members still of the church and people who've left the church, speaking about how you can help yourself through a faith crisis. And I'm going to be attending that conference. And during that time, my friend Michael, who has a place in St. George, is going to be hosting a meet and greet at her place there in St. George on Sunday afternoon after the conference is over. So if you're in the St. George area, or if you're anywhere near St. George, we're going to have a little, hors d'oeuvre and just meet and greet. We'll mix and mingle for a little bit, and then I'm going to give a little bit of a message for the people who are there at the meet and greet, just to mix and mingle. I would love to see you there. If you're going to be in the St. George area, I'm going to post some more information about it on my channel as well as my other social media platforms. So if anybody's interested in coming to that, please let me know. You can let me know in the comments after this video, or you can email me at askmegan@gmail.com, Megan with 2 E's. So I want to say thanks to Michael for hosting that. She's going to be hosting lots of events there in St. George and other places for anyone in this community. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. So I appreciate that. So this is interesting. End Hollywood's TI reality TV programming. 7th commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. Mormons violate all 10, but think they're saved by Jesus. WTF. I agree. Sherry, yes, I am Rex's niece. So Rex and my dad are brothers. And Rex and I, the last time we connected, actually, he came through San Antonio and came and visited so that he could see some of my children, because the last time he saw them, they were pretty little. I don't think he had ever met my youngest kiddo or my youngest 2 kiddos. So anyway, Rex and I keep in touch. He's one of my favorite uncles. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's always fun to be around. Good to see you, sis. Thanks for being here. Hey, Culch, great to see you. I missed your birthday celebration the other night because I was on another show, but I'm going to go back and watch it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping me celebrate 10,000. This is funny. Awakening Expansion says, wait, there's light in your eyes. How can this be? Must be Satan. Definitely. Yes. And Lauren Matthias has recommended my channel so many times. And yes, Kresha has been a great support too. I'm so sorry I missed talking about her. Yeah, Kresha, who is the daughter of Kay and Larry Woodcock, who are JJ's grandparents. Kresha has been very supportive of my channel. I've been on her channel several times. She's come on my channel. We have lots of good conversations about Mormonism and our crazy family system. And she has been a great support. And I appreciate Kresha. So you should go look up her channel. It's called Difficult Research. She has done more deep dives on Mormonism than I have, which is saying a lot, because she was studying the case. And who is it? Chad and Lori's crazy beliefs. I forgot their names for a minute. Yes, we are on an information finding mission. Olivia Allred. Oh, this warms my heart so much to see your beautiful face on here. Thank you. I love and appreciate you so much. Best way to celebrate this day. You're beautiful and brave and have made my life so much better in infinite ways. You're going to make me cry. Happy Independence Day. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here. This is Allison, by the way, but it's showing up as Livy for some reason. Well, I love both of you. Allison is officially my Valentine. She and I have exchanged Valentines for years and years, mostly the really funny, snarky ones. Maybe I should post some of them a little bit later. Some of them involve Jane Austen novels. And we exchanged Puritan Valentines one year. Be my Valentine, or surely we shall starve come winter, those kinds of things. It's lovely. It's a lovely tradition. It's so much fun. And let's see. I agree with this. Threats and lies, they've mastered them. I recognize that little dog. I don't think this has always been your username. The truth is not always pleasant. I agree. I'm 62 years old, and that's what I've experienced. Aw, thank you so much. You guys are so kind. I really appreciate you. MB, thank you so much for this super sticker. And thanks for labeling it super sticker. I never know what to call these things, but I really appreciate your support. MB is a fellow deconstructing ex-mo, well, sort of whatever, I don't know what label you like to call yourself, but we've been on that road a little bit together. So I appreciate your support. Thank you. Oh, it's Nerms. Okay, gotcha. Happy Valentine's Day to you too. And JC says, congratulations on 10K, well deserved. Never mo in Morador fan here. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to post the link one more time for my community page because I would love to see you all over there. I can't wait to start giving you more and more content. And this is the long URL. And so I apologize. It's just the one that I can get to quickly. My apologies that it's going to be a little bit crazy looking here in the chat. And as always, I have way too many tabs open. So there's the link to my brand new community. I am really excited about sharing with you guys there. If this URL is too long or you can't copy and paste it, if you go to shop.third-verse.com, you should be able to find it. I'm sorry, it's a weird URL. It's not an easy one to remember, but it was what I could do at the time. So I'm really excited about being on the Kajabi community because I can host my community there as well as my e-courses, and everything can be in one place. Now, I do have a Patreon, and what I'm going to do with my Patreon is I'm going to shut down the paid membership part of it. It's going to be just a free Patreon, and I will post links on my Patreon to what's in my Kajabi community, because I did have some feedback from some channel members, from you guys, that said, man, all my other favorite creators are on Patreon. How am I going to keep track of these different platforms? So what I'm going to do is post links to my community stuff in the Patreon app so that you'll be sure that you don't miss anything. So that way you don't have to have more than one platform. You don't have to keep track of any of the tabs or anything. If you just stay on Patreon, subscribe to the Midlife Revolution on Patreon, then I'm going to post all my community stuff there. So if you're a member of the community, you'll get the link on Patreon, and then you can just click on it. If you're a member, it'll go right to the content. So you won't have to worry about keeping track of too many platforms. So I did that to simplify things for you guys a little bit. So Data Lisa says, I'll be thinking of you and your steaks tonight. Enjoy. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to do, I'll do a little video for the community later on how I cook my fillets, because I don't want anybody to ever waste good steak. And so if you buy a good fillet and then don't know how to cook it well, it turns out not as good as anything else. So I'll talk a little bit about steak, how to choose good cuts of meat, how to season it properly, how to cook it properly. This is the kind of content that I'm going to be posting over there because I'm passionate about cooking and fashion and music. And there's so much I can do in a private community that I can't do over here on the live YouTube. So I really appreciate you guys going and supporting that community. So yeah, Kulch, thanks so much for being here. I definitely want to collaborate with you. Let's brainstorm. I don't know how to get a hold of you, but I guess I can find you, or you can email me at askmegan@gmail.com with 2 E's. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to go ahead and end. Thanks for helping me celebrate. Thank you, as always, for all of your support. You're a wonderful community. I love this community of beautiful humans. I'm so grateful for you. You add so much to my life, and I am grateful to see that at least some of you have gotten so much value out of this content. And I'm so happy to hear that so many of you have been able to improve the quality of your life because of the experiences that I share here. And that's what I care about more than anything else. I often say that if my pain can save someone else from suffering, then that's the highest calling for me. So thank you so much, Nerms, for this super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for helping me celebrate my Independence Day. I hope you have a beautiful day. And I also just want to give you permission to relabel any day whatever you want it to be. So if you don't like this day, if it's painful for you, relabel it as something else. Go out and do something amazing for yourself. Go take care of yourself, and then relabel this day and reclaim it for yourself and for whatever it means for you and what is the most healthy and loving thing for you to do for you. So thank you so much for being here. And love you guys, and take care of each other. But most importantly, take care of yourself. Be good to you.